on screen. Ha. My name is LaGina. This is why I have to do this every month to stay in it. I promise you, usually my team does this stuff. So here's my attempt. And this is why you need team. Let's talk about team. No, I'm just kidding. Y'all, my name's LaGina. I'm the founder of the Us Space. We are intentional spaces that focus on business education, economic development, and all things around leadership, business, and really how you thrive and what community means to help support you while you're doing that. We do AMA, Ask Me Anything Business, because we're all business owners, and it bodes well to sit and talk to other people that are business owners, get a pulse on things, get a little education in the beginning of the week in your lunchtime vibe. So welcome in. And I am really excited to be here with Pam. Hello, Pam. Let me get my script. I'm not ready to go off script yet. All right. So here we go. Let me get out of the face because I got to get on this side too. Okay. So we're here. We're always sitting real close so that we can appease Instagram and all of those things. Glad to be in. Like I said, Ask Me Anything Live is where business owners like ourselves, we get to ask real questions, have real conversation. And we do this because it betters us as a community. It betters clarity. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. So I think this is a great thing. And it's a way to also figure out what your next steps might be, the next connection you may need to have, all of those things. So we are here today. And just a random fact, because we found this out today. Today is Free Cone Day at Ben & Jerry's. I don't have fact checkers, but it was on the news, but we know the news doesn't have fact checkers right now either. So. But yes, so it's Free Cone Day at Ben & Jerry's. Shout out to Ben & Jerry's. We love them. And we, yes, accept a sponsorship from you at any given time. We will eat ice cream down. You can make an ice cream flavor for the Us Space here in Houston, Texas, 11,000 square feet of space. And we are a true flex third space. So you think of us, we have traditional co-working and offices and private offices, but then we have the event space, and we have a wellness area and a maker space. And you can even see some of it behind us if you're streaming from YouTube. So it's all pretty cool. I want to talk about Pam a little bit because she's just an awesome person. But before we do that, there's a lot of stuff happening at the Us Space in the next couple weeks. We have our Lunch and Learn that you're going to actually lead. So I'll let you talk about that a little bit more later. We have Work Accountability Day. Y'all, we do Work Accountability Day every single third Wednesday of every month. It's our longest running program that we've had. If you are a community group or organizer or have a whole bunch of people that like to hang out and do business and work remote, reach out to us at hello@theusspace.com. We would love to partner with you for you to host a remote work day here at the Us Space. And if you or anybody else, Work Accountability Day is, again, every third Wednesday. All you have to do is go to theusspace.com and register, and we will get you in here and take care of you well, and you can catch the Us Space vibe like that. What else is going on? Okay, so I'll talk about Pam. So Pam is an annual member, and you got it on, what was it? It wasn't a BOGO deal. It was during Thanksgiving or Christmas?
I think it was Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. We did, giving of thanks around that time.
Mm-hmm.
Question Thanksgiving. But so we did a deal, and Pam was already looking at and thinking about becoming a longtime member of the Us Space by way of Myra and the Mavens. And so we're really glad to have you in because you just have one, you're an awesome person. Two, you are really community driven. And three, you have a great business that really adds the collective in a really cool way. So I would love for you to kind of introduce yourself and tell us who you are. Throw out your credentials because you got some credentials. I love that. And then why the Us Space?
The Us Space, well, first introduced by Myra with the Leadership Wellness Circle, which was also an awesome program. And so it gave me the opportunity to get exposed to the Us Space, beautiful community, awesome space. And so I was excited when the opportunity came at the end of the year for me to be a part of it. So a little bit about me. I'm a financial advisor, independent financial advisor, fiduciary. I hold several licenses, Series 7 securities license, Series 66 advisory license, and insurance licenses, as well as a designation master registered financial consultant.
What?
Lots of on paper looks good. And if it was all linear, that would be great. But as we know, life is chaotic, right? Things
it's a ball
happen.
of joy.
Joy, pain, grief,
Joy
all of those things.
and pain.
Exactly. So I always say, a lot of times you can see the credentials, but it's the story behind that as to how you get there. And that's what I think my business is about, is helping people through that journey. Because it's not always going to be perfect. It's not going to always be easy. There's going to be setbacks, and there's going to be an opportunity where things move really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so the financial journey is similar to life. There's ups and downs, right? There's never going to be a perfect moment. So what I always tell people, you have to take imperfect steps.
Ooh. Yeah, I have several imperfect steps. We'll get into that in a second, but I want to do like a quick icebreaker. So what's one money lesson let's not go with you wish you learned, but let's like say that we're playing like some quantum physics thing. Did you watch Paradise? Have you seen the series Paradise?
First season, not the second season.
Okay, y'all, I'm not giving a spoiler. No spoiler. But if you're really tracking Paradise, you start kind of getting some little inklings of other stuff going on beyond just like this bunker and oh boy. Season 2 is amazing. This is not a promotion for it, but it goes in this question. And it's also like my nephew says, an Easter egg. If you could go back in time or predict the future back then, what would be the thing that you would have learned or told yourself? Let's say you look kind of young. So,
thank you.
Whatever, a decade, 2 decades. Let's go with the 90s. No, early 2000s. What would you have told yourself in the early 2000s?
Okay. I probably would take it a step further back from there. But I think one of the best lessons was to start young. I did take advantage of that, but if I could have started even younger, as far as getting the information, searching out the information, and then also realizing you don't have to do it by yourself, that you have people that you can, lean towards.
That can support you.
That can support you through that.
Yeah, I think when you say that, I always think of like one thing that happens, I see a lot of business owners do, and me included, right, is I'm not ready, or I don't have enough of that, or I'm unsure how to start. And even like the who to trust thing comes up a lot. So what are your thoughts around that?
Absolutely. The pause on, am I ready? I'll just kind of share my experience. This is my second round as an entrepreneur. The first round was more learning. And the only way you'll learn is if you get started. And so sometimes it's taking a chance, but also doing your homework so that you can feel prepared. You can have some confidence, but also utilizing the resources around you. Find someone that you do trust, that is in a position that you are seeking, to be a part of.
You can keep talking.
Thank you, LaGina. She's cleaning our camera. And so as far as my business, it takes, that vulnerability and the ability to trust someone. I would say, have a couple of meetings before you commit to anything.
Yeah. It's kind of like shopping around. I'm a mental health advocate, and I always talk about shopping around for your therapist. I'm still shopping. It's a long process for me, but even for financial advisors, people in the money spaces, in your banking space, right? For the person you're banking with, when you're building out your team, right? you should have your different teams you're building out. And I feel like you're on the side of when you're building out, your business banker, your personal banker, you're in that category with the CPA and the bookkeeper and all those kind of things.
Yeah. And one thing I would also say is make sure you work with someone that's willing to work with those people as well. That's one thing, I help my clients with taxes. So I encourage them to introduce me to your CPA so we can work together, so we can make sure all the goals are aligned. We're all working on the same page.
Yeah.
To benefit the individual.
Yes. Oh, you do ask that. Y'all, she's about to get me together. So I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, okay, let me ask another one.
Nervous.
So what's one financial term that people avoid, but they shouldn't be avoiding the term? What's the financial term? Bankruptcy. No, never mind.
No, I don't think it's, I don't know if it's a term, but I think a lot of times people just want to avoid reality. They don't want to look at their finances, or they're just, afraid of what they may hear, afraid, that they may be behind, afraid that they can't catch up.
Yeah.
But until you get started, you just got to move forward.
You just got to start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere. I love that you say that.
Yeah. And I always tell people, today is the youngest you're going to ever be. So you need to start as young as you can. And that means today. And sometimes it's not starting with investing. Sometimes it's starting with, hey, let's create a budget and let's look at what your income is, what's your assets, what are your expenses, and let's determine, where your discretionary income is going, and is that where you want it to go? Okay.
So when you're saying that whole getting to know you piece, I think it's so important as a business owner, like I said, and like you're talking about, to like get to know the person that's potentially going to be managing your money and doing all of those kind of things. So tell us like more about you, like what's your personality type? What is your ideal client? What type of clients thrive with you? And not to like cut it off, but when people are looking for somebody, sometimes it's challenging, right? Like I need across the entire course of my life is somebody that's going to be like, okay, that's great. Anyways, do this. And, somebody that I really trust, that's a straight shooter, but also understands the eccentric parts of my companies, my businesses, me as a person. So on your side, what do you need in order to be like the best financial advisor and wealth manager possible?
That was a lot, LaGina.
No, it's just one statement. What do you need?
So you say, tell a little bit more about me.
Yeah, a little bit more about you and like your target market, your ideal client.
Gotcha. So a little bit more personal about me. I'm a wife, a mother, a sister, a friend, CFO, head of my household, right? So I've kind of gone through several stages in my life. Like I said, it's not perfect. There's divorce, there's, merged families. And so, for me, it's real life. It's someone who's experienced some of the things that some of my clients have gone through.
Right.
Loss of a job, loss of a loved one. So that part I really take into my business, because I want to relate to my clients.
Right.
I want to empathize with where they are on their journey, and then going forward, how do we move from that point? So I take the time to listen to my clients, and not just what they're saying, but what's important to them.
Yeah.
And so, and we start there, what's important to you. Now, how do we factor that into, the journey? How do we allocate resources to that? And then how do we move forward? And then even with the business aspect, it's like, where do we want this business to go? What's the end game on the business? Is there an end game? Is this something we're going to transition over to your children, your family? So it's listening to all those aspects that my clients have with regards to where they are in their journey now and where they want to go.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And one of the really cool things you say about it is that you sit and listen, and then all your life experiences that you bring, and you're very you're very cool. And I'm saying this from the back end, y'all, because I've had conversations with Pam about this financial advising piece and like what this is going to look like for me in the future as I go down this road again and really feel like I'm getting supported. But you're very open about who you are, because I think those experiences bring the knowledge of, you know, the loss of my dad and my sister. You've experienced grief, but you also know financially how that navigates and where money becomes a bottleneck or a stop point, and not just the money, but the paperwork behind it. And that can be super challenging. All right, y'all. This is AMA. Ask Me Anything business. And as you see, we are really talking for real. If you are watching or you watch in the future, make sure you share this with somebody. It's super knowledgeable. And if you're on Instagram, that little airplane thing, you can click it and then share this with people. You can start dropping your comments in the chat, but I want to jump to the Ask Me Anything part. Okay. So when you're building financial confidence, because that's what your lunch and learn is about tomorrow. And so if you're not going to be able to make it to that, shame on you, but it is free and she is paying for lunch. She is one of our lunch and learn sponsors of Pam's company. Will be taking care of lunch. And I always say free with the caveat that sweat equity and your time is of value. So make it happen. Can we open up the registration for like an hour after this lunch and learn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll open back up the registration just for like an hour or two, because it is tomorrow. And Pam is a money manager or wealth manager and financial advisor. So she's super prompt with things. So it did close already, but you see how I negotiated that? That's my thing.
Job.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to ask some questions. Some are submitted in advance. Some, while I'm ear hustling in the us space, they come up in conversation and I kind of jot them down and then build that out. And then some are for me. All of this is generated with the help of my trusty AI assistant, and we'll go from there. So this one was submitted. And it's when someone wants to feel financially confident, where do they start? And I think that's such a broad question, right? Because like, what can we just start with, like, what is financial confidence? Because I always go back to when somebody's like, when they want to win in business, well, what is your win? So how do you help people define financial confidence?
Okay. Step one is seeking the information. Lunch and learn. That's the beginning of building confidence, right? It's showing up and saying, hey, I want this information. You know, I'll go back to when I first got introduced to just the fact that there was 401ks and retirement plans. You know, I didn't get that information from my parents. I didn't get that information from school. And quite frankly, when I went to my parent or my mom and said, hey, why haven't you taught me this? She said, because I don't know anything about it.
She don't know. Yeah.
Right. And that's not uncommon, especially in our community. So for me, I had to go and seek that information. And so when that opportunity arises, like a lunch and learn or an opportunity to speak to someone, or even these AMAs, ask me a question, reach out, or at least listen in and get exposed to that type of information. So step one is putting yourself in a position to be exposed to the information.
You can keep going.
Okay. All right. And then step two would be, scheduling some time to talk to someone that's knowledgeable. I know another thing in our community is that we don't like to talk about money. And that's one of the things I encourage people. We've got to change. We have to start, one, teaching others what we're learning. And, for me, again, I'll go back to the story about my mom. I was getting the information so that I could help her in her retirement. And so with that, it helped me, but it also put me in a position where I could help others, because I realized she wasn't the only one that didn't have that information or that hadn't retired successfully and not had to go live with, a child or had to go back to work. And I'm saying had to, not wanted to, right? So retirement looks different for everybody, but you've got to position yourself for, what you want the outcome to look like.
So normalizing the conversation, sharing.
Absolutely.
And, I'll say something, because I always I always make sure to expand upon the conversation when we say communities like ours, because I'm a millennial, I'm a Black woman, I'm a female woman, depending, I'm a military brat, so we say female, and all of these other things. I think right now what's happening amongst many different communities is that a lot of things like mental health, finances, generational knowledge and wealth are being passed along, and it's being normalized. So I talk about the normalization of these things a lot more than we don't do this or we've had trouble, because it's so normal now, even in the us space. Like over here, you're handing off documents to another member and they're handing them back to you because there is a financial advisor. And then in one of the phone booths, some members having a therapy session. And then, you know, in a conference room, there's something going on with paperwork and money. I don't know. So like, it's being normalized in such a cool way. I'm really big on amplifying that. And that's why I love this conversation. So what's the third one?
The third one?
Yeah, because you said there was 3 things. You said put yourself in position.
Mm-hmm. And the third thing being, you don't have to do it by yourself. You know, you can have an advisor. And I recommend everybody have a financial advisor. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what your net worth is, because really starting out, you need that person. If you already have all the assets, you're probably already doing something right.
Right.
But if you're not, if you don't feel like you're on track, then you need help. And just like with mental health, there's times where you just need help, right? You need someone to assist you and get you on your feet, and give you a plan or help you develop a plan so that you can move forward.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'll recap those a little later because they were really good. And since we're in the 3s, like the power of 3, did you ever watch Charmed?
No.
Okay, it was a TV show, Charmed, one of my favorites. Okay. And if you look at the us space logo, there are 3 triangles, and I really believe in the power of 3, trifecta. Almost in every religion, there's something about 3s, 3rd time's a charm. You could just go with everything, right? So as you're talking about 3s, what are 3 habits? You see people who are financially stable and consistent doing, and this question's from me.
Okay. The first thing is what you just said, being consistent. So you know, if we are working on your retirement, then we are consistently evaluating where you are, you know, what steps you need to take, what things have come along and impacted that. But there's a consistent process as to what we're doing.
Before you go to the second one, I have a question, because I have shopped 2 financial advisors. And when you think about consistency, something in my spidey sense was like, they're not going to be around for a long time. So I didn't go with them, because for me is a person, a solo person in many aspects. My time is only mine, and I only can give that much. And when I'm working with somebody and they disappear, it's super challenging. So how do you vet out a financial advisor to know that they're going to be around for the long haul? Like if I start this process with somebody, I want to know that when I'm 50, when I'm 60, or when I'm 70, they're working, you know, with my assets, or they have a team that's going to pass, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So one thing, I would look at the track record. How long have they been in the business?
She clapping now, y'all. Yeah. She's like, look at the track record.
Look at the track record. So, and see, you know, how long they've been consistently in the business, and if they've hopped around, right? Because that makes a difference too. And then also, I would ask them, what is your succession plan? You know, so what happens if something happens to you? You know, what happens with my portfolio? Who's overseeing that? So contingency plan and succession plan. If something happens, that's the contingency plan. If they, you know, you are young, you are very young, and if that person is older than you, what happens when they are 70, 80? Are they working with then? And so, and if they, you know, if they have a younger person on their team, then that's great. Then you know that, you know, there's going to be some legacy here.
Yeah, legacy. Okay, what's number 2? Habits. So consistency, and a good question to ask in consistency is, what's your succession plan? But what's number 2?
Very good. You're doing good taking notes here. The second thing I would say, and it just left me. I was thinking of it as you were talking.
We'll come back.
Come back to that.
Okay, we'll come back. All right. So, and I got the notes. So I'm keeping receipts, as my nephew says. I got receipts, auntie. I'm like, okay. This one submitted, and this one actually got DM'd to us. So from a business owner, for a business owner, what's different about planning for retirement compared to someone that's in a traditional job? And this is a really good one because, as we know, there are a lot of people being let go of jobs, women in particular, Black women in particular. And even when we think about long-term business owners, all of us on this side of it, whether we've been part of a traditional job or not, like how does that look different? Because I know when I was in my 20s and I worked for a nonprofit, I had a 401k. And I even told you about it. I said, I don't know where the hell that thing is. And there may be $5 in there. There may be $1,500 in there. But
$15,000 in there.
Glory. But what is the difference? And then how do we plan as business owners?
Very good question. Traditional employees, typically have access to a 401k.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows about the 401k. If you're a public company, it's 403b. If it's government, it's 457, right? So that's usually taken care of for you. When you cross over to the business side, you have to, again, seek out those retirement opportunities. And those are big for businesses because that means it's tax write-offs. So I'm really big about, helping people with tax strategies. So there are solo 401ks for a solo entrepreneur. There are simples, there's SEP accounts. There's a lot of, other retirement accounts that business owners can access depending on how the business structure is set up, right? And so we look at what's the best opportunity for this business owner in terms of the type of retirement accounts that's available to them. They sometimes also can use a traditional IRA. They can use a Roth IRA. So there's a lot of opportunities for business owners in terms of planning for retirement that is outside of the corporate 401ks. You can have your own 401k. You can have, a lot of other business owner retirement options. So don't feel limited that you can't put away for retirement because you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business. That's an opportunity to take advantage of tax write-offs.
I wrote that part down. Mm-hmm. Y'all, in this live, you're going to see my head down like this a lot. So much because I'm like writing. Mm-hmm. Did you think of the other two? Habits.
Mm-hmm. that successful people.
Like financially stable and consistent people. What are the 3 habits you see them doing?
Okay. So first one I said was consistency. Something else that they will do is they will have a why. Why are we doing this? Right. So if it's retirement or if it's, hey, I want to leave a legacy to my family. Hey, I want to start this new business. Why are we doing this? You have to have goals. And I always tell people, I don't want to hear your wish. A wish is not a goal. A goal will have a process, a cost, and consequences. Okay. And so if what you're designating as a goal does not have those, then it's just a wish, right? And we just keep dreaming. So make sure that you have measurable goals and work towards that. And that's what I see people, that are really consistent. We have a process, we have a plan, we're moving forward, and they're not doing it by themselves. So, they have someone that's helping them, that's holding them accountable, mm-hmm. and making the process easy. For some of my clients, they're like, oh, it's too much paperwork. Send me the paperwork. I'll read it and I'll pull out what we need to what we need to work on,
Mhm.
right? So, because sometimes people will say, I do have a retirement plan at my employer, but I don't know what options to take. I don't know what allocations. And so we'll work together on what's right for you. We're not going to just put you in the bucket with everybody else. And back to your point about you having 401k somewhere that we don't know, that's one thing I really love is helping people find money. So we'll go through the list of all your employers. Could there possibly been a retirement plan there? Let's go find it. I don't care if it's $5,000, $5, or 500,000. We're gonna go get your money.
We're gonna go.
We're gonna go get it.
Give me my money. You remember that a while ago? And I love that because that's super important, right? You need somebody not only to be accountable. As a business owner, what I really look at is I don't believe in staying in your lane, but I do believe in not always being the driver. And I don't need to be the driver for something that is not my calling.
Absolutely.
Now, I believe my calling is to make money, good money, non-corrupt money.
Absolutely.
But I want to be able to trust somebody on the journey to help me manage it. I also don't want to do it blindly. And so I would love for you to talk about the education piece, but we have to get to this last habit first. So the why, processes, cost, and consequence. And then the last one around like the accountability piece. And then right? The third one is accountability. Mm-hmm. So on the third one, in the accountability piece, also comes that piece of how do you find somebody that is the right fit? I think that's a question that keeps coming to mind. And I've asked it like several different ways. And it's not because you're not answering it, but I've talked to so many business owners that they don't know how to find the right fit. They don't know where to start. They don't know who it is. And it's kind of like just throwing at a wall where you're like, do I put all my time in this person or the next person? So what is like a case use that you can share around that?
Okay. So I'll just be really transparent. A lot of my client base are women, and it's because I'm open. I can relate to some of the life circumstances or life environments that women have gone through. I think that part of me sharing my experiences, and again, you just need somebody that's going to really listen to what you're saying, and then taking that, filtering it, and then coming back to you and saying, is this what is important to you? It's coming back to the point of, is this person working, in my best interest? And I'll share a case with you about a young lady that came to me, and she was, thinking about retiring. And the first time she came in, and I'll share with you kind of the physical transformation, but she came in and she was in her business suit, hair pulled back, and very rigid. Rigid, yes. And so we sat down and we just talked, and she was like, is there any paperwork? And I told her, no, today was just about getting to know each other. She's interviewing me, and quite frankly, I'm interviewing you too, because I want to make sure it's a good fit for me. And that's another thing to look out for. If it's someone that's just going to get you in and you got to fill out this paperwork and move forward. Yeah. Then you should take a step back.
Yeah, I had an experience like that, and they brought in, they had me come to their office. They brought in somebody, and then they came to my office here at the US space. They brought in somebody, and it was very like, here's the paperwork. I need you to fill this out. And I wasn't vibing yet, and I wasn't sure if I was doing something wrong because I haven't done it. But even when I initially met with you, and I was like, okay, what are we doing? And we're just getting to know each other. I was like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah. And you want to get to know the person you're working with, and I think more importantly is you want them to get to know you, because how can I make recommendations or advise you and I don't even know what's important to you?
Right. So the lady came in rigid with her suit on.
And so that day it was like, no, we're not doing anything. We're just talking. And so we sat there and I said, the only thing we're going to do is schedule another meeting, a follow-up. If you feel comfortable, we'll get back together.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next time she came in, she was a little, she didn't have her jacket on. She had her hair down, but she was, still kind of conservative. And so we sat back and we talked about what had happened in her life since the last time we got together, and just, had anything changed in her life that would change what she had told me. And so, and that opened her up to say, well, you know what? I didn't tell you this, and I didn't tell you that. And I said, oh, you know what? That makes a difference. So we had another conversation. And then I shared with her, I said, here's your homework. Take this home if you feel comfortable. So really it took, 3 meetings. But again, I'm investing my time. That's another thing you should look for. Is someone going to invest time to hear about you? Mm. And so the third time she came in, she had sent me the paperwork ahead, and we were now ready to start talking about what direction we're going to go. Right? Okay. And so she came in with flip-flops, hair down, linen outfit. She was just comfortable. And that's the vibe I want when I'm working with my clients, is that they're comfortable in that space. And when I make recommendations, I spend a lot of time educating people. And it's about making them comfortable with me, making them comfortable with the recommendations. And, I always, end with this, is this what are we at the end point that you imagined, right? Yeah. And a lot of times I'll ask my clients, especially my younger ones, like, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
What did I say? I said, hell, I don't know. I did, y'all. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pin that question.
We go keep working on it. And then, once they can come up with, okay, in 10 years, and usually people will say it's easy to come up with, oh yeah, I see myself X in 10 years. And then we talk about, okay, well, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And how does that drive that 10-year plan? Yeah. Okay. And then we take it back to 2 years. So now we're only talking 2 years from now. What are the goals there? How does that drive 5 years, and how does that drive 10 years?
Right, under 800 days.
And then when we think about where are we going to be next year at this time, and how is that driving all the way to that 10-year plan? That's where we get down into the meat. Right?
See how my eyes glazed over?
Yeah, that's okay. We're going to work through it, though.
Right, I love that.
But I like to start with that 10-year plan, because a lot of, like I said, a lot of times people can see that far away, but until they start making the steps, that 10-year plan just keeps getting pushed back further and further. And so we start today working on that so that we can make that happen.
That's really good. I love that. So today, and so, going back to the question, is what you're saying is like how you find your person on both ends is you go through a whole customer journey. Absolutely. And make sure that it starts with a whole getting to know you piece. All right, so we're coming up on time, but I know that you've talked a little bit, or we've talked a little bit about the Lunch and Learn, and you also said that your prime customer are women. So what's one shift you want women to make around money in 2026? Mindset or strategy, like one mindset shift. Absolutely. Or strategy shift.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I said women, I just find that a lot of the women I work with come out of the energy industry, because that's kind of where my background came from. I was in oil and gas for 27 years. But I work with everyone. Men too. It's just that women sometimes
they gravitate to you. They gravitate to you.
Yeah, and they feel heard.
Yeah, and I've heard stories about, the railroading effect and all that. But what is interesting about who gravitates towards you is similar to the Us Space model. We're female forward, people of color supporting, and welcome to anybody that wants to catch the Us Space vibe. We have male members and non-women of color that are members of the Us Space. So it's really around who gravitates to Absolutely. The need of what you're providing. And so I know that just as a business, the Us Space and what you're doing in the financial strategy and the money management place, it's really aligned. So I think that's cool that you say that, because we catch what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, good. And as far as a strategy, I would agree. It's a mindset. It's not just grab a financial book and try to read it, because that can be overly complicated, right? it's just changing the mindset to say, this is something that's important to me. Just like you go to the doctor for maintenance and exams, it's time to go to the financial doctor. I'll use that term. and say, hey, look, I want a checkup.
Yeah.
I want to know, that I'm doing okay. And if I'm not, what's the prescription?
Oh, I like that. E-bars. No, okay. So I love that. A financial checkup from a financial doctor. And if you're not doing okay, what's the prescription?
Absolutely.
I love it. All right. So Pam, thank you for being with us today and making financial confidence a little bit clearer, and a lot more doable in my head around like the mindset shift, because what you said is strategy is the mindset shift. So that's super exciting for me. And for y'all that are just tuning in or smart like me and fast forward to the end, just a quick recap around financial confidence and what Pam said is put yourself in a position for that financial confidence, share, normalize conversations around money, and community. Get the help. Say you need help, get the help. And, when we were talking about how to find that, because I asked many different ways, because I'm still trying to figure that out as a founder, as a person, as a millennial, all the things. And what Pam said that was really cool is the financial or the customer journey that your financial advisor and your money manager, your wealth manager should be taking with you from the beginning, and not a whole bunch of paperwork just signed and going through the processes. So I really appreciated that. And then 3 habits that people that are already doing this well do, y'all, is consistency. And, what is the plan, right? And then why, the process, the cost, and the consequences have to be part of that why plan, because the goal is not a goal unless it has processes, cost, and consistency. And then the last one is accountability. Did I get that right?
Most of it.
What didn't I get right? Go ahead.
The goal has to have a cost, a consequence, and a process.
Play that back.
Yeah.
Because that's what I said.
All
I
right.
love it. So yeah, so so when we think about that, the why, right, is the process, the cost, the consistency, and that all comes from the goal. You can't have the goal without those 3.
That's right.
All right, y'all. So as we wrap up, the lunch and learn around building financial confidence at the US Space is tomorrow at 11. Pam's going to open up the registration for about 1 more hour after this. So maybe around 2:00 it will close back. It is free. All you have to do is register, bring a friend, bring a +1, and really either brush up on your financial journey or start it or get some clarity or confidence or even some validation around what you're already doing. I think that is super important. And then we also have work accountability day tomorrow, and that is from 10 to 4 p.m. Registration is open, so save your seat, go RSVP at theuspace.com, and or you can go to our link tree. It is right below, and you can find, and I think on Instagram it's right above, and you can find everything you need to know about the US Space, including virtual tours. You can schedule a tour, come catch the US Space vibe in any way you want. And that's everything, y'all. So AMA, Ask Me Anything Business, March, April is done. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. This has been fun. All right, y'all. My name's LaGina, founder of the US Space. Catch me in the gram, or if you need anything from the US Space, go ahead and email us at hello@theuspace.com. All right. Y'all have a good one. Peace.